Yeah, we are. I was like, it's not doing a thing. The thing it's supposed to do is not being done.
Wait, why wouldn't it do a thing?
Come on, do a thing, Google.
That's right. All right, are you all set?
I am.
All right, I'm going to hit record, and I'll do the intro music. Welcome back, everyone, to Stadiacast. This is episode 50. Can you believe we've done this 50 times, Lloyd? You're muted.
No, I'm not.
Are you muted?
I was trying to figure out how to do 50 on screen, and I'm like, no, I'm mirror. Got to mirror it. It's got to be 05 is what it has to be.
05. Yeah, well, it's been 50 times that we've done this. I can't believe that. It's been almost a year since this craziness has started. But anyway, we're late today. Most of the time we record the show live Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. U.S. Eastern. I had an appointment this morning that I could not get out of. So instead of doing the show without me, because Lloyd was like, you can't miss 50th episode. And I was like, I know. So he said, I'm gonna stream Doom this morning. And then when you get back, we can record the regular podcast. So
Right.
Big thanks to Lloyd for being flexible. And thanks to everybody who is showing up. By the way, if you're listening to this after the fact and you're like, how come I didn't get notified that that you guys were live and doing it? Well, first off, maybe you have those notifications turned off. You got to subscribe and then click on the bell.
Yes.
But secondly, I recently heard that there has been some issues with YouTube not sending out the notification things, and because right now they're on a skeleton crew, they only have essential personnel there because of COVID-19.
Yep.
That means that there's nobody there to fix that kind of stuff. So just be patient. Most of the time, Lloyd and I will be recording 10 a.m. Eastern. Today was a little bit different, and thanks everybody for their flexibility. Before we get started, if you want to directly support the show and you are here with us live, if you got one of those notifications, then you can use the super chat feature to support us and make sure that we see your message. We will respond to each and every super chat in the second half of the show, which we usually refer to as crowd play. You can also now become a member of the channel. If you're watching this either now or after the fact, you can become a member of the channel by clicking on the join button down below. And that will get you access to some videos early, and it also helps us out. In fact, most of our revenue from this comes from members. So big thank you to everybody who supports us in any way that you guys do. Lloyd, how's it been going, man?
Crazy, man. Since last week to now, this whole social distancing and COVID-19 stuff's been crazy. Don't want to talk about that. That's super depressing. So we're going to talk about other things, talking about games. Friday was Doom Eternal and Animal Crossing came out. So I'm playing the most happy game in the world and the most like gruesome blood spilling game in the world back to back, and my brain is like super confused. But I gotta say, the two games that came out on Friday, they may actually be my games of the year. Like, they are so good, and it's like, holy crap, they came out on the same day. This is insane. It is an embarrassment of riches, and it's also probably the best time for games like these to come out, to give the people that are trapped at home some stuff to do.
Absolutely. I've been playing lots of both of those. In fact, I spent most of yesterday was, I feel like it was the first day that I had an extended period of time where I didn't have something else that I had to work on, because of course, with the social distancing and I'm being a teacher, I have to take all of the plans that I usually do and do them in a new way. Right. And that has been taking tons of my time, and Lloyd has been having tons of overtime trying to get his university ready for all of this stuff. And so I just haven't had lots of time to play games. And yesterday I spent most of the day playing Doom Eternal and then switching back and forth between that and Animal Crossing. And I guarantee that Lloyd is going to talk about Animal Crossing on his on his Animal Crossing podcast called Crossing Animals.
Episode.
I'm sure he'll also talk about it on his Nintendo podcast,
Yep.
Nintendo Pulse, and I'm going to talk about it on my podcast, Nintendo Switchcraft. So if you want Animal Crossing news, you're going to have lots of stuff to listen to.
Right.
But I want to talk about Doom just a little bit. Lloyd and I spent yesterday, we got together for about 15 minutes, maybe like 12 minutes or so.
Mm-hmm.
And we recorded our very first impressions. So if you're listening to this now and you haven't checked that out, please go check that out. Pause this, come back afterwards. Since then, we've both played more.
Yeah.
So this is kind of just a little more in progress. What do you think? So, like, is there anything that changed between when we recorded that and now for you for Doom Eternal?
Well, for episode 50, and also for the fact that I've been playing a lot of Doom Eternal, I have my Boom t-shirt on, which is a cross between Doom and the Evil Dead. So it has Ash with his shotgun, and I will show it on camera because it is a badass t-shirt. So I've been playing all Doom. I love Doom. I've been playing Animal Crossing as well. Doom has gotten even more insane. So we talked about it yesterday. I did a 3-hour stream this morning. It was supposed to be a 1-hour stream, and then I kind of blinked and took a couple shots to the face and died and repeated and started levels. And next thing you know, it was 3 hours later, and I'm absolutely in love with that game. It is not a first-person shooter. It is an arcade puzzle game. Like it's not your standard shooter where you're basically ducking behind cover and doing other things. There is a lot of shooting, and it is a first-person shooter, but there's more to it. There's puzzles you have to solve. There's it's so much risk versus reward. So you have 2 health, and it's like, okay, well, I got to get up to someone and chainsaw them or glory kill them because I need health and I need ammo. Just absolutely in love with it. I found a secret in the second level that unlocked the E1M1 music from the original Doom. And I spent part of the stream this morning just headbanging to that. It was, dude, I love this game so much. Like, Doom 2016 was good. It's almost like Doom 2016 was terrible now because Doom Eternal is so great. It's just everything that they did well with Doom 2016. They injected it with a bunch of steroids and then polished out all the sharp corners, and it's just joy. Even though you're shooting people in the face and chainsawing them in half.
Well, so my appointment this morning was actually a lot faster than I anticipated. And so I got home and I saw that Lloyd was still streaming. And so I sat down and I was kind of chatting. I was in chat and talking to him. And I grabbed my Switch and I started playing Animal Crossing, and I was listening to him and watching while I was playing that. And I was like, so when do you want to do this? He's like, well, just let me finish this level. And then you know, we could do it in a little bit after that. And he was like, well, you know, like 40 minutes or so. We'll get it done in like 40 minutes. And 2 hours later, like he's still playing. And I was like, I sent him a message. I go, just so you know, you're still quite a ways from the end of this level because I'm a little further in the game than he is. And he looks at the time and he goes, well, how long have I been streaming? He goes, 3 hours. Oh my God. Like it completely snuck up on him. And that's the kind of thing that can happen in Doom Eternal. That game is just so amazing. And of course, we haven't finished it yet, so we can't do a full review yet. We have our review in progress, which we posted yesterday, and obviously we're talking about it right now. But that game is so like, if it continues the way it is going to obviously surpass Doom 2016 as my personal favorite single player first person shooter ever. And it is just so good. Everything in that game is turned all the way up and then some. And I just think that they have nailed it, and I can't wait to play more because it's just so fantastic. What else have you been playing this week?
Doom. Oh wait, no, we talked about that. I've been playing a lot of other stuff. Last episode I talked about Rage 2, and I was like, oh, it's so empty. It's such a wasteland. And I think my gameplay was bugged when I did it because after we talked, I went back to the game. And the game was totally different. Before we recorded last episode, there was this one part where I went to a city, and one of the people that was in the city just was talking, but they weren't there. So the bartender's talking to a girl, and the girl is supposed to be standing at the bar, but nothing was happening. So I think what happened is that time that I played the game, it just assets weren't loading. So when I went back in after last episode, and I've put probably about 10, 12 hours into it since then, the game is fantastic. There's so many unlockables. You feel like a superhero in some instances. If you've ever played Crackdown, you know how you start building your abilities and then you're able to kind of like do superhuman feats. You don't really get that so much in this game, but you do get like the ability to unlock like a flying vehicle and a bunch of other things. It is really, really good. So unfortunately, I didn't beat it before Doom Eternal came out, so now it's kind of on pause until I beat Doom Eternal. But any issue that I had with Rage 2 being like just this big open empty wasteland with nothing to do, that's not it. It must have just been my instance of that game session was bugged for whatever reason. So really, really enjoying it.
That's really, really weird. So if you only had one money enough for one game,
Mm-hmm.
and you had to choose between Rage 2 and Doom Eternal, which one would you pick?
Doom Eternal. It is a better game in every aspect, and I've only touched the first 3 levels of Doom Eternal. I don't know how many levels there are, but there's way more than 3. They say that to beat the game and get all the unlockables, it's probably about a 40-hour game, 35-hour game, I think is what they're saying when I looked at a couple people talking about the length of the game. And I haven't even gotten to any of the multiplayer stuff. There's seasons involved, so there's unlockables that you get some customization stuff and cosmetic gear by getting XP by playing the game. To me, it feels like more of a game. And the fact that if you buy it now, you get Doom 64 as well, which is great. So we were going to talk about that in news, but that's just an added bonus right on top of it. I'm really looking forward to playing Doom 64 as well.
Yeah, Google Stadia tweeted that out 2 days ago. They said pick up Doom Eternal on Stadia by April 3rd. So if you don't buy Doom Eternal by April 3rd, then you don't get this. But if you buy it by April 3rd, then when Doom 64 comes to Stadia later on this spring, you will then have access to that as well. So make sure that you if you are interested in Doom, now is the time to buy. And David K in chat is asking, is Doom worth the money? And to me, I can't really answer that question because the amount of money, like $5 to one person is, if they spend $5, they don't get to eat that day. And to somebody else, $5 is what they spend on coffee every morning. So I can't really answer that for you, David. What I can say, and I honestly, just full transparency, both Lloyd and I got review copies of Doom Eternal for Google Stadia. So the publisher provided us with the game. So would I have bought it anyway? Yes, but don't tell the publisher because, being a content creator is expensive enough without having to buy every game.
Right.
But I would say that this game is wonderful, fantastic, incredibly polished, and super, super, super fun. And I can't wait to play more of it. So I hopefully that answers your question kind of, David. Whether or not it's worth the money that's a personal thing that only you can answer.
It's also,
let me ask, go ahead.
I was going to say, it's also one of the best looking video games I've ever seen when you're playing it in 4K. God. Like the intro, you're kind of in your own little Fortress of Solitude and you're kind of walking up and then you walk onto screen and you see kind of like the back of your head without your helmet off. And then you pick up your helmet and you put it on. The character models and just the actual Doom guy himself, one of the best in-game visuals that I've ever seen. And the levels themselves are huge and so fast, like some of the fastest action in a shooter that I've ever seen. And the game looks beautiful the whole time at 4K, well, 1800p, 60 frames a second, HDR, looks absolutely wonderful. And then today when I was streaming, I was playing in 1080p because I don't have a 4K capture card. So I was playing in a web browser at 1080p and it looked just as beautiful. Like it is a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous game. And if this is a sign of Stadia games to come, I'm super, super stoked to see what's going to come later this year.
Me too. And honestly, I'm bullish on this idea that this is the low end of what Stadia games are going to look like. This is a game that is made for multiple consoles. So therefore, because it's made for multiple consoles, they are kind of going to the lowest common denominator, which in this case is the PS4 is the lowest common denominator as far as the one that gets the least power behind it. I think that the games that are made for Stadia, with Stadia in mind, 100%, that's the focus. Especially the first party games are going to blow people away. But again, I've said this a million times on the show. The graphics, while the graphics for Doom are amazing, and I anticipate the graphics for the first party games that come to Stadia are going to be amazing, graphics are not the thing that sold me on Stadia. The thing that sold me on Stadia is two things mostly. A, convenience, because it's super convenient. I was able to play. I was playing Doom on in here in my studio, and then I grabbed my phone and I said, "Bloop bloop, send that to my bedroom TV." And I went into the other room and did it in there.
Yeah.
And it was like it was just super simple, and I can't do that on any other platform. And then the second reason why I'm excited for Stadia is the stuff that can't be done on any other platform, not because it's not powerful enough, but because it's not in the cloud. Because on the other platforms, it's a box in your house, and that limits what the developers can do. And that's what I'm most excited for. And while Doom Eternal is beautiful and fantastic, it is essentially the same experience that you would get if you had an Xbox One X and were playing Doom Eternal on that. Same graphics, same everything. I think maybe the load times would be a little different. I don't know. I haven't tested it, but good God, the load times on Doom Eternal are incredibly fast. Like instantaneous. You die, and when it comes up for you to load the next to your last checkpoint, it's at 90% before you can even hit the button. It's so fast.
And I've seen times where you basically die, the load screen comes up, and then you can hit A right away. Like there isn't even any loading in the background, depending on what it has to load in, like reset the enemies and things like that. So it's it's ridiculous how fast the load times are. And that's one of my favorite features of Stadia for sure, is just how quicker games load.
All right. So Trevius, I don't know how to say your name. Trev, I'll just say Trev, says the load times on Division 2 are also incredibly fast compared to PC. And so I wanted to ask you about this game, specifically the Division 2, because I have never enjoyed any of the Tom Clancy games. They're too realistic. Like my son just started playing Warzone, which is not necessarily a Tom Clancy game, but it's a realistic, with quotes, military shooter. And I saw him playing that, and I was like, oh, that's not a game for me. I don't like that kind of game. I like things to be much more arcadey. And so you've played the Division 1. You I think you said you 100%ed it or something like that. And you've been playing the Division 2 on Stadia. What are your thoughts on that now that you've had a little more time to play that game?
It is really, really good on Google Stadia. I picked it up, Division 2, when it was on sale on Xbox and PlayStation 4. So I grabbed an Xbox copy for $3, and then my son wanted to play it as well. So I was like, all right, fine. I bought it for PlayStation as well. So he's playing on PlayStation. The load times on Stadia are like tiny in comparison. So load times are great. It looks better to me. It seems like it looks better and plays better compared to my Xbox One version. And I went forward enough to unlock the ability to make a clan. So we have a group called it's called Stadiacast. So
I saw the logo.
You like the logo?
It's a very Canadian logo.
Hockey sticks and a goalie mask. That's awesome. So if you want to join that, come to the runjumpstomp.com/discord and jump in, and we'll give you instructions on how to do that. But the game just looks so beautiful. And I know you don't like realistic shooters. And well, this game does have some realism to it. Like you're using real guns, you're modding guns. It's more kind of realistic compared to, say, a Destiny. It plays very much like a Destiny. It's a looter shooter. You're popping a bunch of guys. Eventually, they'll leave some loot. You pick up the loot. If it's better than what you have, you grab it. If not, you break it down to component parts that you can then use to make blueprints and things like that. So, well, it's set kind of in a realistic world, and the graphics of the environment look realistic. The game itself is more of a Destiny than it is a like Rainbow Six or Ghost Recon. It's much more a Destiny kind of game.
So let me ask you this. One of my biggest problems with the, again, air quotes, realistic shooters is the distance between the players when they're shooting each other. I find that in the realistic shooters, the players tend to be very, very far away from each other when they're actually initiating combat. And so it all comes down to your skill with clicking on a dot that's extremely far away.
Right.
Whereas things that are more arcadey tend to be much more up close and personal, like Doom Eternal, like Overwatch, where everything seems to be a lot more confined. How would you put the Division 2? Because right now it's on sale, and we'll talk about the sales in a minute, but right now it's on sale, and I'm tempted to get it because it's pretty damn cheap.
Yeah, it's well, it all depends how you want to play. So you have 3 guns in your loadout. You can have like a I don't know, an assault rifle, a shotgun, and then you always have a sidearm. You always have a handgun as kind of something you come back to if you run out of ammo for the other ones. You can have one of them be more of a sniper. You could have one be more of like a, I don't know, an AR-15 with like a single pull, single shot kind of thing with a huge scope on it. So even though you don't have a sniper rifle, you can use one of your weapons kind of like a sniper rifle, and then you can be far enough away and attack the enemies. But you can also get up close and start hitting people in the face with a shotgun shell, and that works as well. The thing that makes the game more customizable to how you want to play is you have 2 different perks, and there's 8 total perks. So you can have a turret that you throw out, and then the turret will shoot enemies and distract them, and then you can run up behind them and kind of pop them from behind really close range. You can have these rolling bombs that will chase people and explode there. You can have them. You can have it do other things as well. So you can kind of look at the perks that you have available and choose ones that are more appropriate to your playstyle. For me, I have my first one as a pulse that shows me whereabouts enemies are in the stage, so that I can go and flank them or get up close if I want to. And then I have the other one is this drone that I send out, and it basically just flies around, shoots people, and distracts them, and then I can move around and hit them from behind, because I too like to get up close and personal when I play games like this one. So it's kind of in the middle. It's not Doom 2.
Okay.
You're not glory killing anybody to get more ammo, but it's also not like Sniper Elite, where you're trying to stay as far away from people so that you don't die because one hit and you're dead in those games. In this one, you can take a fair bit of damage. You have these armor plates that you can recharge. You can then bump that up so that they heal more armor, or you can hold more of them. So it's very much more of a Destiny style game, where you can be far away if you want, but there's no penalty if you get up close and personal. You just have to set your loadouts to be in such a way that it's conducive to more up close and personal fights.
And I guess it's, for me, it's not necessarily that I want to be up close and personal. It's that I can't stand it when I get sniped from a million miles away.
Yeah, that'll
and I'm
never
like
happen.
killed instantaneously, and I'm like, what the hell killed me? I didn't even see anybody, and that always kind of drove me crazy.
Yeah, that'll never happen.
Which version did you get?
I just got the base version. I haven't bought the what is it, the New York, I'm blanking on the name of it, Warlords of New York. I haven't bought that expansion yet. I think I'm going to buy it today just to have. The 2 versions are the exact same. Whether you buy the base version or the Warlords and base version together, the price is exactly the same. And then there's a year 1 Ultimate Edition thing that has like the year 1 DLC, the Warlords of New York, which is technically the year 2 DLC, and the base game. It's the exact same price. So you're not really saving anything by getting the bigger bundle. If you just want to try the game and see if it's something that you like, jump in, get the standard edition, because it's like $10 and play it. And if you like it, then you can pay the $30 to get the Warlords of New York expansion. And the nice thing with the Warlords of New York expansion, depending on how you classify nice, when you jump into that expansion, you're locked in that expansion. So you can't go back to the main game at all.
Mm.
But the nice thing is when you buy that expansion, you get one level 30 instant upgrade thing. So it instantly takes one of your characters and makes them the max level, and then you can go experience that content. So what I'm going to do is just use that with a new character, create a whole new character, pop a level 30, and then go into the Warlords of New York expansion and take place or take part in that DLC kind of on a separate save sort of thing.
All right. Well, since Lloyd is talking about the money that he's going to spend later today, possibly, let's talk about the prices of these things. I went and took a screenshot earlier and threw it in the show notes of the current Stadia Pro deals. Now, I will say this, I've said it before, and I'm going to keep saying it. Google, you need to show these to people who are not Stadia Pro subscribers. It is ridiculous that only Stadia Pro subscribers can see how much money they are saving by being because that would be a big thing that could entice people to subscribe. I'm just saying, Google, we know they listen, so hopefully they'll do that. Assassin's Creed, these are the games that are on sale right now. I'm not going to go through every single price, but I'll just tell you which ones are on sale. Assassin's Creed Odyssey in all of its various forms is on sale. You can get in for as little as $20 right now. And you've played that one, and you said,
Yeah.
I was watching you stream earlier, and you were talking about that's like your favorite Assassin's Creed game.
I've played every Assassin's Creed game that has come out, and this is by far my favorite one. They finally have the formula right, and they decided with this one that they're not going to be releasing Assassin's Creed every year. They're like, we're going to sit on this for a year or two. It's fantastic, and for $20, it's a steal. There's easily 150 hours worth of content in the base game, and then there's a bunch of DLC that you can buy down the road as well.
Awesome. Then we've got Ghost Recon Breakpoint and the Year One Pass, as well as the various editions of Ghost Recon Breakpoint. Now, that is a game that both Lloyd and I purchased and returned because we decided that it wasn't for us. But if you want to check that game out, that doesn't mean it's a bad game. It's just a game that didn't appeal to me. That's not my kind of game for all the reasons that I said earlier. If you want to get into Ghost Recon Breakpoint, that is also you can get in at the base game for $20 right now, which is a pretty good deal, I think. Okay. Then there's a lot of Ubisoft stuff in here. Just Dance is on sale for $34.99. And then the Division 2, like we were talking about, that's on sale right now. You can get in on that for $10 right now, and that's ridiculous. Very, very tempting to me.
Mm-hmm. Do it. It's good. Yeah. You should buy it. It's really good.
Now, Trials Rising, here's a problem that I have. Is Trials Rising is on sale right now, but I don't know how much for because I have already bought that game and they won't show me the price. And then if I log out of my account to look at the price, it doesn't show me the pro deal price. So I don't know how to tell how much that is.
Right.
But it's on sale right now, as well as the gold edition and the expansion pass. You were about to say something, Lloyd?
No, I find it funny how there's no way to look at the store in the proper way without already being a pro, but then you can't see the prices for games you've already bought. And it's like, for me, when I look at the Stadia Pro deals, I kind of own everything. So it's like, I don't know what any of these prices are. I've gone a little ridiculous with purchasing Stadia games, I think, is what this is telling me.
So, okay, vamp for a little bit because I'm going to try check something on my phone.
Sure.
Tell me, of all of these, which one do you think is the best deal of all of these games that are on sale right now?
Just Dance 2020. No, just kidding. But Just Dance 2020 actually would be really good right now for people that are stuck at home. You can get you can play the game and get fit while playing it. But I think your best bang for your buck right now is to pick up the base edition of Tom Clancy's Division 2. It's $10, ridiculous price. There's 20s of hours of content in here. Like, you could play the main base game and get into some of the kind of like dark site stuff after, and it's you can play 50, 100 hours easily. Or you can get to level 30, complete the main story, and then immediately buy like the year one content, play through that, and then the Warlords of New York content and play through that. But for $10, this is just a crazy deal. In fact, if you're not a pro member, it might be worth picking up pro and then getting this one for $10 and then claiming your free games for the next I guess 2 months, you'll be able to play this month's free games and then next month's free games to get Tom Clancy for $10. It's a pretty decent price.
That's awesome. And I was just making sure that I wasn't crazy. Because I have two accounts. One's a pro account, one's a non-pro account. And I just loaded up my non-pro account, and it said, it said pro deals on my phone. I was like, oh man, all of that nonsense that I complained about isn't But no, I'm right. It currently says Assassin's Creed Odyssey, $60. So it says that it's $60. It does not give the actual price that you would pay if it were a pro deal. That's
crazy.
Just Google. You got to do something about that. You've got to.
Free marketing.
All right. So those are the Stadia Pro deals. Let us know which deal you think is the absolute best. You can tweet at us at Stadiacast. I'm at Run Jump Stomp. Lloyd is at Dasme. Or you can, if you want to be part of the conversation, you can use the super chats, and we'll get to that at the end of the show as well. Let's move on and talk a little bit about streaming bandwidth. But first, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to hear from a sponsor. So stick around, everybody.
Buy a ColecoVision and a Coleco game cartridge by November 15th. We'll send you a free Cabbage Patch Kid by Christmas.
All right, we are back, and let's talk about Europe is requesting that Netflix slows down their streaming quality for the next 30 days. Netflix is a ridiculous, it's 13% of overall internet traffic.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that again. Of all of the traffic on the internet, 13% of it is Netflix. That's one company. That's crazy.
Right.
And Europe has asked them, hey, can you lower the bandwidth that you are sending to people right now, because everybody's at home and everybody's watching stuff because they're trapped in their damn houses and they don't have anything else to do. Do you think that this is something that's going to be requested of Stadia?
I don't know. That's a really good question. It's really interesting the way they're doing that. I think one way that Netflix could reduce everybody's bandwidth is of the people that are paying for the 4K stream, just send them the 1080p stream, and there you go. There's your there's your reduction in quality. They'll probably have to start refunding people for the extra $2 you're spending a month. It's a pretty interesting ask. I don't know if places like Stadia are going to be asked to do it, because they're just a small little blip on the radar. They're not using over 10% of the total bandwidth across the internet. But in the future, I mean, if more people are at home streaming, you're going to have the kind of the, I don't know, side effect, I guess, of everybody else is streaming so much more. So your Stadia bandwidth is going to be lower because there's just not enough bandwidth to go around. Although they've been saying that for years, that we're running out of bandwidth. The bandwidth tree is empty. There's no more bandwidth to pull off the tree. And then they're not charging people for overages this month. Most of the major telcos. And it's like, okay, well then bandwidth caps really aren't needed if you can just do away with them, and your networks haven't fallen over yet. And there's a lot of people in California and New York that are stuck at home. Like the vast majority of people are stuck at home, and the networks haven't fallen over. So I think that's going to show kind of the fallacy of bandwidth caps and stuff like that. But man, this is really interesting. For a whole country to say, hey, Netflix, stop being so awesome, is not something I think I would ever have predicted to happen.
Yeah. Well, I agree. I think that the idea of bandwidth caps is a manufactured scarcity that is not real.
Yep.
There's no need for it. New York is not completely on lockdown right now, but the governor of New York said 100% of non-essential personnel should not be going to work. So that means that there's tons of people who are at home and everything's working just fine. But not only that, here's something, like, it basically makes every day kind of like the weekend, because people are at home on the weekends most of the time, and it's all working fine. I played Doom Eternal yesterday for hours, and I had no problem. And I was playing at 4K, HDR, everything at max. It was bananas, super awesome. And I worry that people, like, I don't worry about this necessarily, but I think that what's going to happen is people will say, "Oh, see, Netflix lowered theirs from 4K down to 1080p, so everybody else has to do the same."
Right.
Well, not everybody is, just because they're doing the same resolution doesn't mean that they're using the same amount of bandwidth. Um, I don't know about Netflix encoding, but I'm willing to bet that Google sends a lot less data to accomplish the same thing. Maybe, I don't know. And even if that's not the case, there's so many more people using Netflix than are using Google Stadia.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I think that it's really it's a good thing that Stadia Base is not out right now, because
Yeah.
that would cause more of a problem, I think.
Yeah.
We'll see. I haven't had any issues at home with my internet. Have you?
No, I was when I was streaming today, or actually even yesterday, when I was playing the game, I was getting less artifacting, like the odd like blip where the Stadia stream breaks down for a split second. Playing in 4K yesterday than I think any other time, and you'd think there'd be more people in Winnipeg, more people in Canada, more people in US, more people wherever are playing Stadia stuff. There'd be more people doing it, and I was getting better quality now. So it's really interesting. It makes me wonder if telcos have just upped the maximum bandwidth, and they're not limiting, or they're not rate limiting different interconnects or something like that. Because I was getting just beautiful visuals with no issues at all yesterday and today. So really weird. Yet everybody at my house is streaming stuff. Like, my wife's watching Netflix, my daughter's watching Disney Plus, my son is playing video games, and I have zero internet issues. I have good internet, but I usually would get like the odd time there'd be a little blip here and there.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to the Google for Games Developer Summit is happening tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific time. That's 12 a.m. Not 12 a.m. That's 12 p.m. U.S. Eastern time, and then you can obviously convert that to whatever time zone that you want, dear listener. And there's a lot of people who are wondering, hey, there's going to be like a keynote. They're going to talk about stuff. What are you expecting? And I'm going to say that for me, I'm expecting almost nothing. This is what was part of GDC.
Yep.
And GDC is not a consumer focused event. It is a games developer conference, GDC. It is a developer focused event. So here's what I anticipate we will hear tomorrow, and then you can tell me your opinion on this, Lloyd.
Sure.
I anticipate that Google will say things along the lines of, this is what developers who are working on Google Stadia stuff are saying about the experience of making games for Stadia. Now that we have some games out, this is what Ubisoft has to say about making games for Stadia. This is what Bethesda has to say about making games for Stadia. This is what whoever made Spitlings, this is what they have to say. And they're going to have all of these quotes from developers about saying what a dream it is to work on Stadia, and how responsive Google is to input from developers. And I think that's going to be the focus. And I think if you watch this tomorrow, you are going to be very, very bored. It kind of like, did you watch the Sony thing?
That's exactly what I was going to say. Everybody was hyping up this Sony stream. It's like, oh my God, we're going to get PlayStation 5 unveiled. And it was essentially Mark Cerny sitting up there and saying, all right, everybody, this is what we did. We have 16 paths down to this thing, into the chip, and we looked at the RAM chips, and we looked at the flash memory, and we did this, we did that, and everyone's just like glazed over, their eyeballs rolling into the back of their head, and I'm like, yeah, that's what you get at GDC, and this was something that they were going to do at GDC. It'll be the same for Google at this event. You're going to probably see some interesting stuff, but there might be a 1% interesting stuff and 99% just like technical jargon things, which is fine, because that like, there's a lot of developers out there that are really disappointed they couldn't go to GDC. But for general public watching it, maybe there's not going to be much that was useful for you, we'll say.
I 100% agree. I don't expect anything important to be mentioned at GDC or at the Google for Games Developer Summit. However, I will say there's a small chance that they will say, and by the way, these are the developers that are working on stuff that's coming out later this year.
Mhm.
And maybe we'll find out that, when I talked to John Justice, he specifically said, because I asked him flat out, I said, hey, a lot of people were excited when they heard that EA Games were bringing games to Stadia. We haven't heard anything about that. What's going on with that? And he says, I can tell you that everybody who we have said is working on games for Stadia are still working on games for Stadia. And
Right.
that was just a couple of months ago when I talked to him. So I anticipate that that's still the case. And maybe some of those developers will say, yeah, we're still working on stuff for Stadia, or Google will make that announcement. Not, hey, here's Apex Legends on Stadia, but hey, these are the developers that are still working with us, because
Yeah.
that's kind of some of the information that we got last year at GDC.
Correct.
Was this idea that, Phil, God, I can never, Phil Harrison standing in the giant white room had all of those little logos flying past him and stuff. Right. So I maybe that'll still happen, but I don't anticipate any exciting news about Google Stadia tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. It's going to be small little tidbits. There's going to be the crumbs that fall off the plate, which are going to be fun for general public people. But the developers are going to be just salivating over all the stuff. Won't be super interesting for anybody else other than them.
All right, let's talk about two things that I would say are not exciting at all. Although when I told you about one of them, you got super excited. So let's start with the one that you got excited for.
Sure.
Go ahead. Tell everybody what you got excited for.
Super excited, maybe a little bit of an overblown thing. I was like,
hold
that's
on.
awesome.
I said this is a thing, and you said, wait, is it live or is it coming? And I said, oh, it's live now. I tried it, and you said, oh, awesome. Like, you reacted with a lot of excitement.
I'm an excitable guy, Bill. You know that. But what you can do now is you can look at your screenshots in landscape mode on the iPhone, which is great. The only reason why this is good is because I was trying to show off a screenshot to a buddy at work. And I was like, okay, it's this little postage stamp size thing. And he's like, well, can't you turn your phone sideways? And I said, nope, not something you can do. And he's like, well, can you like pinch to zoom? And I said, nope. They didn't think to include that, or they haven't included it yet. So now I can show them off my really great a screenshot of a cheat code in Doom Eternal, which is fantastic. It's sad that I got excited over it, and I did get excited, as Bill said, but mainly just because I now can do things like this, which is show off the amazing art in the Division for our logo for our clan and Division. It's a hockey mask with 2 hockey sticks behind it. I love it. And yeah, you can join. It's called Stadiacast, and our insignia, the 3-letter insignia, is NRD.
Nice for nerd. Yeah. I will say you still can't do pinch to zoom.
You can't.
And it's like they're going as slow as they possibly can.
They're doing like Nintendo levels of iteration on their apps. It's taken a very long time for that to happen.
Stability. There's more stability.
Yeah. So stable.
All right. The next thing that is not exciting at all is that RBI Baseball has been rated by the ESRB for Google Stadia. Now, I have to admit first, I am not a sports guy. I don't like most sports games. I got review copies of RBI Baseball, I'm going to say 18 and 19 for Nintendo Switch. Mm-hmm. And that game is garbage. It is a bad game. And unfortunately, on the Switch, it's the only game that has the official rosters and stuff like that. So if you want to play a baseball game that has the rosters of the actual, the actual baseball players, mm-hmm. then RBI Baseball is your only option. Unfortunately, what I would get excited about? This is what would excite me is if Super Mega Baseball 2 was coming to Stadia, because that game, or actually 3, because 3 was just announced for all of the other platforms. It was not announced for Stadia. Super Mega Baseball is a very, very fun baseball game. However, does not include the actual rosters. Now, I know that you're Mr. Sportsman. You love the sports. Do you care about baseball?
Baseball is one of the only sports that I don't watch regularly on TV or anything. I don't have the time to add baseball to my to my sports watching career. So this doesn't really do much for me, unfortunately.
Well, it doesn't. I don't get excited for this. RBI baseball. When they offered me the code to try out the latest one, I said no, thank you, because I tried out the previous 2 and they were just kind of terrible.
Right.
Now, I will say this: there are people in my community that love this game because it's the only baseball game that has the real players. So
Right.
if you're looking for a sports game, which are are there any sports games? Oh, yes, there are. We've got the basketball game.
Yep. Yeah, NBA.
And then Football Manager.
Yep. And I think that's it.
And that's
unless
right?
Unless you consider Trials and Grid as like racing games, it's kind of sporty. But that's about it for sports.
Well, now you've got one more sports game coming. Now, just because it was announced on the ESRB doesn't necessarily, like, that could be a typo.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But I anticipate it will probably be coming, and it probably will be announced within the next month. I would anticipate.
Yeah, and RBI baseball is kind of an OG sports game. Like, this is going all the way back to like the NES era. Like, they've been making RBI baseball for a long time. It took a break for a while and then came back. So there's a lot of people that
I think it's a different developer, though.
It's 100% a different developer, but there's people that have been fans of the franchise for a very long time. So they're super excited about this. Not me, but if you are, that's awesome. We need more genres of games on Stadia if we want to attract a bunch of different people to start playing games on Stadia. You need to have every single genre covered, and now Sport Ball is another one with the baseball Sport Ball will be coming hopefully sometime in the future.
All right. So while we've been talking, we had a couple of super chats. One came in from David K. Thank you very much for that. No question attached to it. Anthony Talcott sent in a super chat, $5 super chat. They said, I find leaving the normal zombies alone and using them as ammo dumps with the chainsaw works really well, especially on the harder difficulties. Obviously, he's talking about Doom. Do you have any strategies that you want to share with people who might be struggling with Doom before we move on?
Don't die. That's the best strategy. I wish I would have thought of that early on in my Doom playing career, because dying isn't fun and not dying is much better. But yeah, like Anthony said, using the little drones that just shamble around as loot pinatas is a great thing. So they don't shoot back at you until you get into some of the other levels, and then they have zombies with like shooty arms and metal skeletons. They take a little bit more damage before they die. But yeah, keeping those little guys around to glory kill to get health or to chainsaw open to get ammo is a really good thing. And they're also really good to hit with the flamethrower, so they spit out armor chunks to keep your armor up too. They're just the I don't know, they're the loot pinata that just doesn't keep on giving. They're fantastic little animals, zombies.
Yeah, I like it. Anytime I see here's my pro tip. I don't like saying pro tip because I am not a pro. I am a filthy casual. But my advice is, whenever you see a large group of enemies, throw the fire on them and then drop a grenade and run away. And then when they explode, they will drop so much armor that you will be very, very full, very, very fast. And I think that's a really fun way to do it. I love all the options in Doom Eternal. But thank you guys for sending in those super chats. And I got to be honest, we're wrapping up a little bit earlier than we normally do. So if you want to know, if you're like, oh man, I need more content, then guess what? We posted yesterday a bonus episode of Stadiacast where it was Lloyd and I talking about Doom Eternal for about 15 or about 12 minutes or so. So go back and listen to that if you need more. And then check out Crossing Animals, check out Nintendo Switchcraft, check out Nintendo Pulse, check out 143 Pixels. We've got tons of content for you to listen to or watch while you are at home and bored. Lloyd, is there anything else that we want to talk about before we wrap up?
No, I think that's it. There's a lot of content on our channels, all the channels that we just talked about. So get out there and watch some YouTube stuff and listen to podcasts. That's a perfect way to get entertained without having to leave the house if there's no reason to leave the house or you're not able to. Crazy times. Hopefully over the next little bit, once I figure out what's happening in my neck of the woods, work-wise, and how if I'm going to be working from home or working from the office. If I'm going to be working from home, that'll give me a little bit more opportunity to do more streaming, I hope. But we'll see. Because then I don't have to drive 2.5 hours to get to and from work. Well, 2.5 hours together, not all in one time. It's an hour. It takes me about an hour or so to get home and an hour and 15 to get to work. Yeah, it's crazy. So that'll give me more opportunity to do some streams and stuff, whether it's Animal Crossing, whether it's Doom Eternal, whether it's everything. Going to try my best to create as much content for people that are unfortunately stuck at home over the next little bit.
If just to compare to you, if Uncle Rico, if you're a fan of Napoleon Dynamite, then you know who Uncle Rico is. Yeah. If Uncle Rico was at my house, he could hit my place of work where I work with a football from my house. So I live very, very close to my house. There is one story that we almost, I guess I didn't put it in the show notes, but I had it linked here, and I'm going to drop this into chat so that you can see that if you want, Lloyd.
Sure.
But there is an APK update. I forgot to add this to the show notes, and I apologize for that. And it's talking about wireless controller on Android. Right now, if you want to play with the Stadia controller on Android, then it has to be plugged in. And the other part is Stadia Pro only games, which is very interesting. So of these two things, the first quote here, and these are, somebody went into the APK and broke it down to find out like little strings of text in there. Mm-hmm. It says, message for modal shown when no controller is present. When starting gameplay or experience a disconnect during gameplay, below refers to the GUI element appearing below the text. You need a controller to begin playing. Link a Stadia controller by entering the linking code below. Usually, you would have to plug that in. Right. And it looks like in the APK, you're going to be able to put in the linking code soon, according to the APK, which is very cool. And then the second part, it says subscription perk offering access to free pro games or pro only games. Max 2 lines, access all Stadia pro games. So do you think, and we have 8 minutes before we hit our hour mark, so we can easily talk about this before we get out of here. Do you think that the first party games from Google do you think it's possible that those will be only for pro subscribers?
I don't think so. If I had to guess what pro only games will be, that'll be something like a Fortnite or something else, something that is free to play on other platforms, but Google wants to lock that behind a $10 a month paywall because they need to pay for the servers and don't want 1 million people jumping in and playing that game that people didn't buy from them. There's in-app purchases, but we know only a small percentage of the people that actually play the game actually buy the V-Bucks or whatever for those games. So if I had to guess, it would be that, but I've been wrong a lot with Google Stadia. They're doing things really different than pretty much anybody else in the industry. So it'll be interesting to see what shakes out for this one.
And that's exactly what I was thinking too, is that this is going to be for those free-to-play games because they know that most people play those games without paying any money, even though those games make tons of money. The people who are paying that money are usually few and far between. They just pay lots. They're called whales. Yep. And I know that there's a lot of people that saw this and thought, oh, the first party games are going to be free. I don't think that that's true. Maybe. And I also think it would be a bad move on Google's part to not let people who aren't subscribed buy these games. Yeah, I think that would be a bad idea. But Lloyd's right. Google is doing things very, very differently.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting change to the marketplace, I think.
Yeah, like if you would have told me like a couple of years ago that Microsoft was going to buy all of these development studios and then take all of their games that they create and give them away for free on the platform if you are a Games Pass subscriber, I would have laughed and laughed and laughed and probably fallen over from laughter. But that's exactly what they're doing. Gears of War came out, you could play it for free as long as you're a Games Pass subscriber. What was it? Outer Worlds came out, a game that I was going to pay $80 to buy to play on my system. It was free for Games Pass subscribers, and I have Games Pass for another year and a half. I would never have predicted that, and it's happening with Xbox, so maybe that is something Stadia will do in the future. I think a lot of their first-party titles will take a little while to come yet for the big ones. So maybe they're leaving it open for industry changes just to see how things kind of switch when the new consoles come out this holiday season.
And I don't think, just to clarify my position, I don't think it's unlikely that they say, hey, our first party games are part of your subscription. I just say it's unlikely that they say you can't buy those games unless you subscribe. I don't think that that's ever going to be the case.
Yeah.
Real quick, something I didn't actually put in the show notes, and I didn't put it in the show notes on purpose, is that the Premier Edition went on sale for $30 off this week, but it was for only a day. And then it disappeared. So that was only on sale for one day. I think that was Google should. Do you think it? I think $130 is fine.
Mm-hmm. $99 is way better.
Yeah, way better, especially because a controller is $70.
Yeah, I think
itself.
I think it's $69.99. Yeah, so. $99, like under $100 is impulse buy for a lot of people. Like it's like, oh, do I want to buy this new DVD player? Oh, it's $150. Oh, this one's $99. I'll pick that one up. And it's there's a bunch of prices that are kind of like under the mental block that you hit. It's like, oh, I'm not going to buy this because it's $5. But if it was $4.99, I'll buy it. Or I'm not going to buy it because it's $8. But if it's $4.99, I'll buy it. $99 for a piece of equipment that gets you games, gets you the ability to play Doom Eternal with some of the best quality ever. That is a no-brainer. So hopefully they start doing more of that stuff.
I anticipate that what will happen is once they have it so that you can play, once they have it so that you can play wirelessly with a controller on your PC, they're going to sell. I don't know what they'll call it because they've got Founders Edition and then Premier Edition. They're going to sell one that's just a controller and a month of Pro, and what I think that they're going to sell that for $80. Or maybe 75 or something like that. And that is going to really help out, especially if they do that before Stadia base, because if you get a month of Pro and a controller, which also hooks up to a PC and you can use it on a PC, if you can get those two things for the price of a game, and you get the Pro games, that's a no-brainer. That's an absolute steal, and they would get a whole bunch of new customers. Anyway, I think it's time for us to wrap this up. Thank you guys for hanging out with us and watching the show. And Lloyd, thanks for running the stream and being flexible so that I could go to my appointment this morning. You're awesome. Follow the show on Twitter at Stadiacast. You can follow me at Run Jump Stomp. You can follow him at Dasme. That's DASME. Be sure to use the hashtag Stadiacast so that we can find your tweets and put them in the show for next week. You can join our Discord. We've got an official runjumpstomp.com/Discord is the Stadiacast Discord. There's over, I think it's 1,200 people in there now. So make sure that you join and hang out with us. And while you're joining Discords, make sure that you join Lloyd's Discord. Look, they're free. Just join Discords. You look under your seat. You get a Discord. You get a Discord. Yeah. Discords for everybody. Lloyd's got one over at rezd.tv/Discords. That's REZD.tv/Discord. The music you're hearing right now is zirconstudios.bandcamp, or it's Subterranean Kamikaze by Zircon Studios. Make sure you check out their stuff. Lloyd, it's good talking to you again, man.
Nice talking to you, Bill. Have a good one, everybody.
And it's saved.
We are out, and the stream is still live. So thanks everybody for coming out. That was a lot of fun.
It was. And thanks for being flexible, everybody.
Yeah, definitely. All right, I'm gonna shut down the stream. You folks have a good rest of your Sunday, and we'll hopefully watch some content and enjoy. I don't know, enjoy your time watching stuff at home. And don't use all those bits because apparently they're in short supply.
Bye, everyone.
Later.